Hello, and welcome to episode 133 of the Player 3 podcast. I'm your host, Luke Croft. Alongside me, we have the always visually stunning Larry Hunt.
Hello.
Oh, man.
I mixed it up.
Breaking news, Larry.
Yeah?
Milky513's in the chat. He says, "Sup, fellas? It's good to see you back on the air. I live in Las Vegas now." Did you know people live in Las Vegas? Thought people just flew there, got blackout drunk, and flew home.
So, does Milky's life consist of an unending string of events that never happened now?
He can't tell us, because if it happens in Vegas, it stays in Vegas. But that's awesome news. If you want to drop in the chat what took you out there, we would love to know.
Unless you didn't want to move to Las Vegas, in which case it's not awesome news and you have our condolences.
But if you're over here watching us live on twitch.tv/player3podcast, which you should every day at 5, every Monday at 5, but today we're doing it at 3 because Larry has to go figure out where kids are hiding their drugs.
It's true.
Which is exactly what I'm not making this up. Top 3 guesses. Where do you think they hide them in their room? Let's take a shot.
For real?
Yeah, man.
I don't know.
I mean, I know you're going to learn, and next week you're going to come back and you're going to report on. And I'm not saying you're learning so that you can hide drugs. I'm saying so that you can hunt them down. Here's the thing. Let's see. He says, "I'm trying to get tickets to E3. The price is literally a leg, arm, and right testicle." I don't understand how that made him move to Las Vegas, but
some dedication to go to E3.
Yeah, good luck to you.
Move to Vegas.
Anyway,
in the mattress.
Okay, in the mattress is probably a great idea. I mean, you need to raise your hand at some point. Do you think this is like a raise your hand kind of event?
I have no idea.
You said it's like a mock bedroom, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. Here's what you need to say. Be like, look, I think a great idea would be is as parents, you have 2 children.
I do.
Only a couple years away from being exposed to the world of hardcore drugs like cocaine.
Yes, one is 3.
Exactly.
Only a couple of years.
Ask whoever's the professor that's leading this.
Yes.
Doctor, do you think it would be a good idea for me to go ahead and start training a drug-sniffing dog now? That also doubles as an attack dog if he finds drugs in the room. And what kind of drugs are we looking for here? Obviously weed, obviously cocaine, amoxicillin, Tylenol, Robitussin. Well, Robitussin, and you can legit turn that into something.
That's true. But you don't even have to.
That's
drink
true.
Enough of it.
That is very true. But so that's what Larry's doing tonight, and that's why we're early today. It's
work related.
We are the Player 3 podcast, but if you're watching, that was a string of asides. Because what I was saying is if you're watching us over here on twitch.tv/Player 3 podcast, you'll notice we have an awesome new overlay. Let us know what you think about that. If you're in the chat, we would love to hear your thoughts. But it's also going to be on youtube.com/Player 3 podcast. But we get together every Monday over here and talk about video games, push it out to you on YouTube, and also on the podcast services, all that sort of stuff. Larry, my friend.
Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm very tired today.
Why?
My sleep schedule's all out of whack. I accidentally took a 3-hour nap with the kids, and it messed me up.
All right, that'll do it. I slept all day yesterday because I was in a bad mood. I had a terrible week, Larry. Let me take my hand and walk with me, all right? So, if you noticed last week, we didn't have a live stream, which was 2 weeks in a row. The first week was because because your wife had a job interview, and you couldn't come down here. Last week, Larry came, and we had all the plans in the world to do the podcast. However, I realized that I left my computer charger an hour and 15 minutes away from my house in my office at work. And so my laptop died before I ever got around to doing the live stream. So that's why we didn't have a show last week. And so that was strike 1 for terrible week. Second thing that happens, this isn't terrible, but we got a cat. And I've been kind of stressing about the cat because our dog doesn't generally like other animals. So we're having to take this thing slow. So it's really stressing me out. Thirdly, I'm driving to work on Thursday. I'm half an hour, 45 minutes down the road, realize I forgot my laptop at my house. My laptop is integral to what I do for a living. So I had to
just throw laptops
exactly
off of buildings.
So I had to turn around drive 45 minutes back to my house, and then drive back up to work. So that put me in an ill mood. Having a couple like strings of weeks in a row where our customers I run an escape room. Our customers have just been rude and late and inconsiderate of my employees and stuff like that, and so that's been getting under my skin. Saturday comes around. I have to work on Saturday, which I don't generally do. One of my employees comes in, says she thinks she has the flu. I'm like, what the heck are you doing here? Send her home. So I'm having to run the whole place a man down on our busiest day. Because I'm not trying to get the flu.
Yeah.
Leaving work, Larry. Leaving work. Get about 5 minutes down the road. Realize my car's starting to drive a little funny. Roll my window down. Sounds a little funny. Oh crap. I've got a flat tire. So I pull off into this sketchy parking lot. No lights, no nothing. It's like 11 o'clock at night. Get the jack out, change the tire, put the spare on, which is just a little donut, but I haven't checked that spare in a long time. Put it on, put the car down, the spare is flat. So I've got to call a friend of mine to bring a pump out. I don't get home until like 1:30, 2 o'clock on a Saturday night. So it's just been an awful week. So I'm really glad to be here, hanging out with you, about to do this show. Milky says, the new layout is pretty cool. Look at you guys looking all professional. It's almost like you guys are committed to doing this on a consistent basis.
I'm considering it.
So, yeah, we are going to be more consistent. While we're on the announcement side of things here, with the new layout, we have a new stream schedule as well. I'm going to be streaming a whole lot more over here on twitch.tv/player3podcast. Monday through Friday in the mornings, I'll be streaming 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., because I don't have to be at work till like 1. And then Monday night, Wednesday night, and Thursday night, be streaming 9 to midnight. Mornings, probably going to be Monster Hunter World. Evenings, probably going to be PUBG for the time being. And then hopefully Larry will jump on this streaming train with us as well.
Bring back the Lair Hunts Evil.
Oh, yeah.
We got to finish Alan Wake.
That's true.
I haven't finished it.
And look, man, you don't have to wait till you have the means to... do the overlays and all that.
Just everybody that connect.
That's right. Everybody just wants to hang out and watch you stream some games. So be looking out for that. Follow us over here on twitch.tv/play3podcast. Click the little button that gives notifications. You'll know when we're live every single time. So, Larry.
Yes.
I've been talking a lot. I apologize.
Unforgivable.
So let's start this week off like we get every week started off. With, what have you been consuming?
Well, right now I'm consuming French press coffee, which is always good. I made a note this week so I'd remember what I've been consuming.
Thank you. I actually put what I've been consuming in the notes as well.
Oh, well, I didn't put them in your notes. I have my own notes.
That's okay. All right, that's fine. We have a split off, a splinter group for the show notes.
Show notes splinter cell. All right. So PUBG. I would have remembered that one anyway.
Because you play it like every night.
I love this game.
It's so fun.
At first, I just thought it was okay. But now that I'm used to how crappy it runs and
yes,
how awful it looks, I see past that. And it's a blast. It is so much fun. The last couple nights I've been wrecking people with the SKS. Me and Andrew had a fun little setup the other night where we were up on a rooftop and in Rosshawk where the road comes through, and we each had a DP-28 and the 47 clip machine gun, and we were just mowing cars down as they came through the town. It was so much fun because 2 DP-28s laid into your car will blow it up in no time.
Yeah.
So that's been a blast. I'm loving PUBG. I'm glad you're streaming. It gives me an excuse to play it. Me and Jess got back on watching Star Wars Rebels. They're about to wrap that show up. And
that's the one with the skinny lightsabers, right?
I don't understand. Is this a joke or a
no.
thing?
Like, what's the one that's on Netflix?
Clone Wars.
Okay, so yes, it's the one with the skinny lightsabers.
Okay.
Like the light coming out, they're kind of slim.
Gotcha. Yeah. It's been really good, and I think one good thing about it is I love shows that begin with an end in mind and they don't drag them out.
Exactly.
They just go to where they're going. It's great.
We're looking at you, The Walking Dead.
This one I did. Let me preface this by saying I didn't know what the show was about. But the previews looked intriguing. It made it look like it was this great mystery show, and I saw some people that are close to my age tweeting about it. So the CW show Riverdale, and I found out it's like based off Archie comics to a degree. So I was like, that sounds cool. I'll check it out. No, it's not cool. It's just another CW soap opera.
Yeah. Everyone that I know the only people in my life that talk about Riverdale are my like early 20 female employees. And they love it. But they also love, what was the other show they were talking about loving so much that I was like, that show is hot garbage. I can't remember what it is now. I'll think of it.
They're in the demographic. I'm not in the demographic that the show appeals to. But the previews made it look like this cool mystery thing. And even the show starts off, this guy's like talking about all these mysteries. And I didn't finish the episode. We get like 20-some minutes into the episode. I'm like, where's the mystery part? Because right now it's just who's going to sleep with who. And I ain't about this show.
Spoiler alert, all of them with all of them.
That is how the CW shows basically run. You nailed it. And last on my list of things I've been consuming, Reboot is getting a reboot. So, if you didn't watch Reboot as a child, Reboot was like the first CGI television show, and it was about the people that live inside your computer and protect it from viruses and play the games against you and all that stuff. Really interesting concept. I loved the show as a kid. I've even watched the show as an adult. And when I heard that they were rebooting Reboot, I got so excited. I was so happy. And I looked at the trailer, and immediately all of my excitement died because the Reboot is a live action thing about kids at a techie high school that go inside of the computer as guardians. So it's basically Tron meets Power Rangers, and
yeah,
I'm not excited.
So we're starting a little hashtag just reboot. All right,
yeah,
just reboot.
Just reboot. Don't add all
so
this.
If you'll tweet at Netflix, hashtag just reboot. We want completely CGI. Mix between Avatar and Ratchet and Clank. I'm not familiar with the show. All I know is what you showed me. Real quick, Milky says, quick question, are you guys broadcasting at a different resolution? The stream will not come up on Xbox. Yes, we are actually, long story short, I installed Windows 10 on a partition of my hard drive on my Mac, and it's able to run a better version of OBS than Mac can, and so we're actually able to achieve 1080. So I don't know why that would throw off your Xbox, because it should be able to do that, but yeah, so we are broadcasting at a higher resolution. So anyway, okay, what have I been consuming? Larry, loads and loads of Monster Hunter World. Let me tell you about this game, my friend. I'm not generally into like games that have a lot of systems and a lot of like what's the word? Like lots of modifications and little like buffs you can take before going out on missions, things where you have to be really aware of like your armor composition. Really, the deepest I've gotten into any game like that has been Destiny, I guess. But even with that, like, at the end of the day, Destiny is about running what you feel best running. Like,
yeah.
It's especially Destiny 2 was a lot less stat driven than even Destiny 1. But so that's probably the closest example to just like paying attention to your loot and stuff like that. Monster Hunter, loads and loads more complex as far as systems go than Destiny. But for some reason, it's got its hooks in me, man, because it's like, you talk about like positive feedback loops in games, and it just has such an addictive one. So basically, there's no story, almost no story. You are following these elder dragons that are migrating, and it's like their natural pattern. And you are trying to study the world that they have migrated to, and you do that by killing and capturing monsters. So the story makes absolutely no sense. Let's see. Milky says, nice. No wonder 1080p won't play on Xbox One, but will play on Xbox One X and Slim.
That's
My
weird.
apologies, Milky. But hopefully it's working on your PS4. Anyway, so it's all about researching this island by killing and capturing monsters. The story makes absolutely no sense, but it's all given to you in like these bite-sized hunts, these chunks where like, hey, we noticed this monster that's been roaming around this area. Will you go try to kill it and bring back its parts so that we can research it and understand it more, so that we can then hunt the Elder Dragon, because we're trying to understand the world as a whole before we go into hunting these giant monsters. So basically every mission except for a certain couple things that you do are all like 50-minute time limits, which is really cool for someone like me who wants to know, like, okay, I can get in this and I can start it, and within 50 minutes I can hopefully achieve it. I'm not very full. I mean, I'm 20 hours into the game probably, but I still haven't really scratched the surface of the game.
That's why I don't have this game. Like, I know
Yeah.
how I am and how much this would appeal to me, and I don't have the time, but I would make the time.
Yeah. But it's so good, man. The mechanics are fun. I'm still playing around with what weapons I like to use. Right now I'm running like the sword and shield combination, but I saw somebody playing with dual blades a couple days ago, and it's so fast and looks so fun, and I think that's what I'm going to try tomorrow morning when I fire it up. I think that's what I'm going to try. So I've been doing that. I've been playing a lot of PUBG. We'll talk more about PUBG here in a little bit, though, when we get to the news. And then I haven't really been watching too many shows or anything like that, but I've been watching a ton of Twitch streams over the last couple weeks. And I don't know what it is. I've never really been into watching other people play video games, but if you find a couple people whose personalities you really enjoy, like, you're going to hop in there and watch it. But I've also been watching the Overwatch League, and we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a little bit as well. So yeah, that's what I've been playing.
Can I throw one more out there?
Yeah, absolutely.
This was from last week, so I forgot to carry it over. For Honor. I've been playing a lot of For Honor. And just want to real quick throw in there, like, Ubisoft does such a great job of supporting their games with longevity. They're still adding new stuff to For Honor. And same with The Division, same with... Did they do Rainbow Six Siege? Is that the...
Ubisoft? Yeah.
Yeah. So, just great job, Ubisoft.
It's wild to watch it because Ubisoft gets so much crap for like the server stability and all that sort of stuff, and a lot of that's warranted. But as far as really setting their focus on this games as a service idea and doing right by the customers in the way that they're doing it, like, I mean, you think about The Division, and The Division was a good game when it first launched, but it was flawed in a lot of ways, and all that game did was get better. Same thing with Rainbow Six Siege, like you're saying with For Honor, and same thing with like Ghost Recon Wildlands, and I think that they're really becoming like the example of how to do this for a lot of companies. They are creating the formula, so that's been really cool to watch. All right, Larry, let's move on.
All right.
To the releases of the week.
Releases of the week. Clap, clap.
Very short list this week, but some stuff to talk about within the list. Moss launches for PSVR this week, which is you basically play through a fairy tale where you're this mouse with a sword. That's as much as I know about it. But we haven't talked a lot about PSVR lately, or VR as a concept in general. But
to be fair, neither has PlayStation.
But I think the conversation is gaining a little more traction, and I think with news stories like this, now if you're watching over here on Twitch, wondering why we're not putting the news story up, I'm still trying to figure out how to do that on this new OBS I've been using, so hopefully we'll get that back next week. But this is for Chris Pereira over at GameSpot. It says, this month is looking like an ideal time for PlayStation 4 owners in the market for PSVR headset to finally pick one up. Sony is bringing back some steep discounts on the standalone headset in various bundles, bringing their respective prices as low as they've ever gone. These new promotions began in the United States on February 18th and see the cheapest option sell for $200 rather than the usual $300. The PlayStation blog suggests this may just be the standalone headset, which doesn't come with the required PS4 camera. However, the official PlayStation website shows that it may also include the Gran Turismo Sport Bundle, which gets you the game and camera, but that will require you actually finding a store that has it in stock. So, then it goes on to say the next cheapest is Doom VR. Bundle, which is $300 down from $400, packs in the physical Doom VFR in addition to the headset camera and 2.0 demo disc. Alternatively, Skyrim's bundle drops to $350 from $450. So basically, across the board here, you're seeing a $100 discount on all the bundles that they sell. What do you think of that? What do you think of that?
It's cool. I'm glad it's getting more affordable, but I don't know. It's still not being supported with a fervor that would get me to shell even that that amount of money. So, I don't know. If it's something you've been thinking about getting and they already have experiences that you're excited to get in on, like, now's the time for sure. But
right.
I'm still not optimistic about the long-term support of PSVR.
Right. And I totally get that, and I agree with you. Like, it doesn't seem like Sony takes the opportunities where they have, like, whether it's E3 or PSX, and really drive home that this is a platform that exists alongside in an equal measure to PS4 as like a vital part of its ecosystem. And I don't know. I owned the PSVR for a while, and I enjoyed the little bit of time I spent with it, but it was one of those, like, I couldn't justify just keeping it around and getting it out and going through the complex setup with it, just for the sake of the couple experiences that I had with it. I've never been a huge Skyrim fan, not a big racing fan. Doom VR, from everything I've read, it's like, it's fun, but it's not the best way to play the game. So I'm with you. It just didn't have enough to hold my attention. And then the other thing releasing this week is Payday 2 on the Switch, and I wouldn't normally bring this up except for there is an interesting story over at IGN about which version of Payday 2 you're getting. And I'm waiting on that to load, and then I will let you know, because apparently it's not the latest version, Larry. All right, here we go. This is over on IGN from Hope Corrigan. It says Payday 2 publisher Starbreeze has confirmed the version coming to Switch is not the latest iteration of the game. Polygon reports the revelation comes after fan outrage on Reddit. This is a bad sentence. Polygon reports the revelation comes after fan outrage on Reddit after an early recipient reportedly streamed the game before release later this month. So before. Features such as the ability to speed up the end of high screen and flashbangs were not present during the stream, keying fans into the apparently older software. Starbreeze has confirmed with Polygon that the version releasing on Switch is not the most recent 147 update. Quote, Payday 2 is releasing on Switch with content up to and including the Most Wanted update, which is equivalent to the content released through mid-2017 on PC. PS4 and Xbox One received one additional update after that, the Master Plan update, which released near the end of 2017. Starbreeze told Polygon, quote, so Switch is one update behind other consoles, which are slightly behind PC, end quote. This is a weird story to me.
Yeah.
I don't claim to know a lot about development, but it would seem like it would be easier to just go ahead and bring the latest console version over. I don't feel like those features that are listed there make the game more intense to run than what they're already achieving on Switch, right?
Yeah. But maybe there are some other features attached to those that they just haven't mentioned by name. I don't know.
Possibly.
It is weird.
But, I don't know. If stories like this continue to happen for Nintendo, it's a bad look for the Switch. I think people like go in with a general understanding, like, all right, this is a console that's probably more equivalent hardware-wise to the PS3, Xbox 360 era, but if companies are just kind of mailing it in with the ports that they put out there, you're going to fall into the same issue you fell into with the Wii U.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like overall success-wise, but just the way that people view your platform as far as third parties are concerned. So, but from everything I understand, Payday 2's port to consoles isn't that great anyway. So I don't know if people were expecting the Payday 2 Switch port to be much better, and it apparently isn't. So Milky says, I still have my PSVR, but not a lot of fun games and no interactivity with other players. The nausea is real even on lighthearted games, and no killer app to sell units. Sony is buffing up its install base to get third parties invested.
Only like, three of them.
Only three parties. The Republicans, the Democrats, and the Libertarians.
No Green Party.
And we talk about this all the time when we talk about these peripherals, like what comes first, the chicken or the egg? And what comes first, the install base or the games that would get an install base excited? And I think with a price cut, Sony is starting to admit, like, okay, in order for us to get like the teams that would really motivate people to buy PlayStation VR, we have to have a bigger install base than we currently have. And that's what a price cut does. It bolsters that. So I agree with you, Milky. Great observation. over here on twitch.tv/play3podcast. Hit that, smash that follow button. Bam, bam, bam. Let's move on, Larry, to topics. Right. Yeah, we've got some topics for you.
We do.
Kick us off, Larry.
All right, so my topic. Sorry. So, given terrible recent events, lots of us are trying to make sense of why people do terrible things. Mm-hmm. And in light of the shooting that took place a couple weeks ago, once again, the topic of whether or not violent video games is at the heart of people doing violent things has come up. And so we have a Rhode Island lawmaker who wants violent video games to be subject to an additional tax.
I'll open this up for you. Sorry, I should have handed this over so that you could be in the driver's seat. But this is over at GameSpot, and I can't remember exactly who. It's from our boy Eddie over at GameSpot.
Eddie!
Here you go.
All right. I don't actually know how to use this. Do I scroll with two fingers?
You can just scroll with one. It's like a phone.
Oh. All right, so Rhode Island State Representative Robert Nardolillo.
Sure.
Thank you. Robert N. has proposed legislation in the Ocean State that seeks to add an extra tax on violent video games. In a news release this week, the Republican lawmaker said the funds from this tax would go towards mental health and counseling resources. This legislation would put an additional 10% sales tax on video games sold in Rhode Island that carry an M for mature or higher rating from the ESRB. Rhode Island sales tax rate is 7%, meaning $60 games actually cost $64.20. With the extra 10%, an M-rated game like Grand Theft Auto 5 would cost $70.20. That's a good amount extra. Nardolillo says the revenue from this tax would be put into a special account to be dispersed to school districts for the purposes of funding counseling, mental health programs, and other conflict resolution activities. And is it okay with you if I stop?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, because it's just more of the same, and they wind up talking about how this isn't the first time this sort of measure has been proposed, but a measure like this has never actually been passed anywhere.
Yeah.
So, thoughts, do you think violent video games contribute to violent people?
I know we've had this conversation before, and I think it was probably ages ago on the podcast. But
I bet it was when we had Sad Satan. That game was creepy.
Yes. I think that is when it was.
And not creepy.
Oh no, it was the game that was banned for being too violent, and I can't remember what it was called. But
I thought that was the game. Oh, but
there was a game where you played a mass shooter.
Yeah.
And the only thing was racking up kills. That was when we talked about it. But I think there's been plenty of research done about this topic that says there's really no correlation between violent video games and people who are violent in the future. Here's the issue that I have many issues with the entire response to really any mass shooting, but in particular the Parkland shooting, where blaming video games, in my mind, okay, whatever, blame video games, but you can only do that if you're also willing to blame guns. Because video games are one step further removed from the act than the gun itself is. And so if you're going to move to regulate this one thing that you think is the cause of this thing, if you're going to do that, you better also be aiming to regulate the thing that is way more directly involved in it, which are firearms, and the fact that an 18-year-old kid who was known by the FBI legally purchased an AR-15. But to get back to the point at hand, it's the scapegoat argument, man. And it's been made over and over and over again by different people. But the fact of the matter is that these games are available far and wide across the world, and yet we continue to be one of the only places in first world countries where this is like a prevalent issue as far as mass shootings are concerned. And so I think it is just... And I think this story about this Rhode Island lawmaker makes me doubly mad because he is, and conflating is not the right word, but the whole idea of we're going to tax this thing and put it into this special thing that, goes to mental health research. And it's okay, all of this on the surface sounds great, but you're pairing this argument that's asinine with another argument that it would be political suicide to be against that, right? To say, well, we don't want money to go to mental health research. So you're pairing those two things together so that basically you're putting somebody in a political corner of like, oh, well, if you don't support this, then you don't support mental health research. And it just seems, I mean, all of this has become a political game, and it does this after every shooting. And I'm not saying this isn't the time to have the conversation. I think that's the best time to have the conversation. But
the issue, particularly this go around for me, is how the conversation is being had.
Right.
It's just shouting down all. It's a lot of this manipulative. Hi. Well, if you disagree with this, then like this. You disagree with this, then okay, you don't want to help mentally ill people.
Right.
Or well, if you don't agree with my particular measure, you're fine with kids getting killed. Like that's not going to change anybody's mind or get anybody on your side.
Right.
Yeah, it's very frustrating, and in particular with the game. I'm with you. There is no hard. I didn't get to my favorite line in the article, but there's a line in the article that basically says, Robert N., without citing any specific studies, said there's plenty of research to show that there's a correlation between violent video games and violent acts, and there's just not.
And here's the other issue, is the federal government is not legally allowed to study the very thing that I do believe is causing this issue. The CDC has been barred from researching gun violence. The same way that they researched car safety when they then required car manufacturers to include seatbelts in their vehicles, the CDC was behind that. They were the driving force behind the research and the decision making. And it was that research that was brought up on the congressional floor when those laws, came up to be passed. But there are riders and bills that have been passed that say the CDC isn't allowed to do that.
And for the sake of our viewers knowing, like, you and I are not in 100% agreement on how to approach the issue of guns. But I totally agree with you that there's no reason not to study and figure out.
Especially if you're so confident.
Yeah.
If you are so confident that this is not the issue, it's like, okay, well, let's just research it then. Well, no, we don't need to do that because there are studies that show.
Yeah.
Without citing any specific studies. But until we can do that, we're arguing on
what we all feel.
On anecdotes.
Yeah.
Which is all that this is. Well, they banned guns in Europe, and there's this kid who stabbed 16 people. Yeah, one of them died. Everyone else lived. Like, 17 people were killed within minutes of this guy opening fire in this school. Like, there's no logical step that you can take that would say if he had a knife, he'd have done as much damage. Mm-hmm. Absolutely none. But until we have research, all we're going to have is this stupid crap of throwing this out. But that's just where I am. You want this next story up?
I'm fine with just mentioning it.
Okay, yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, so also we had CPAC this week, which is, I don't remember what that stands for. I guess I should open the article.
Oh, I was talking about this one, the Trump one.
Oh, I skipped the Trump one.
Yeah. But I can summarize that if you want me to.
Go ahead.
So basically, Trump was speaking about gun violence in the wake of the Parkland shooting and said that, number one, violent video games and movies are shaping young minds and leading to these tragedies, blah, blah, blah. And then suggested that possibly we should have a ratings board for movies and for games. And, I mean, he threw out some suggestions. I mean, and at this point, I'm extrapolating on the story. This didn't happen. But he was like, maybe we should determine if a movie, let's say, is appropriate for someone, say, under the age of 13.
Okay.
And if it isn't, then they have to be like, they have to come with parental supervision, something like that. Like parental guidance for people under the age of 13.
We could shorten it to PG-13.
Oh, that sounds like it could catch on. Or like, let's say a video game that has just gratuitous violence in it.
Yeah.
And you don't want anybody under the age of 17 being able to purchase the game. You could say it's for like mature people.
Yeah. So, like, right mature across the cover?
I think you could get by with maybe just an M.
Fascinating.
That's
a great idea.
Donald Trump,
President Donald J. Trump.
One of the great revolutionaries.
The J stands for genuitive, which is short for ingenuity.
I got the notification for that last week from multiple sources. that said Donald Trump believes a rating system is needed for video games and movies. Didn't know one's already existed. And it's just like, this is the man that's like driving policy in our country.
Well, yeah. He just says whatever he thinks in the moment, and there's a lot of stories that point to the fact that whoever the last person he talked to is the person that shaped whatever he's going to say in that moment.
Yep.
But another issue with the rating system, if the I don't think these play a big part in making a person violent, and that's very anecdotal for me. I play lots of violent video games, and I haven't been a super violent person.
Mm-hmm.
But I have some leanings toward violence in some situations, but those stem from other things altogether.
Yeah.
You are a pacifist who plays a bunch of violent video
seriously.
games. But
Call of Duty works the same for a pacifist as it does a non-pacifist.
Even with the rating system, though, the stories you told when you were working at GameStop, kids would bring these things up, and you'd explain in graphic detail the things going on in this game. And parents would be like, "Oh, well, he's 8-year-old Johnny's just really mature for his age."
My favorite, and I think I've said this on the podcast before, GTA 5. Obviously, like, it's sold buttloads of copies. Parent brings it up. I would always say, all right, this is rated M for language, violence, and then I would start listing all the other stuff. And my favorite thing the parents would respond with is, I just make him play it on mute. It's like, little Johnny, 8-year-old Johnny can walk into strip clubs and do all that sort of stuff, but...
If you don't hear the stripper, though, did you really see a stripper?
That's true. That's one of the great philosophical questions.
If you can ask the professor tonight, and nobody hears it, was there a strip club?
And I do agree that there's a level of personal responsibility that needs to be taken in all these cases. And the problem with the discourse around guns is people say, well, it's this. Well, no, it's this. Well, no, it's this. And it's like, maybe there's some universe that exists in which multiple factors can lead to a certain outcome. And I find it ignorant when people are like, it's this is mental illness and nothing else. This is a gun problem and nothing else. This is a media problem and nothing else. Do I agree that the media tends to glorify violence in a lot of ways? Yes. Do I agree that we have a mental health crisis on our hands? Yes. But the Republicans that are arguing that have also argued against all sorts of healthcare coverage that would be able to tackle that problem. Do I believe guns are an issue within this? Absolutely. Like, it is a nuanced problem, and nobody wants to have a nuanced discourse because it's just, well, I saw this meme on Facebook that completely blows away your argument.
Yeah. This celebrity demolishes this worldview in 3 minutes or less. This former soldier utterly obliterates.
My favorite meme was, LeBron James is just a celebrity that should keep his mouth shut on politics. All right, now on to our next segment. Scott Baio to talk about his love for President Trump.
I thought Left, Right, and Center had a really good discussion on this past week, particularly in light of what the media could do better in the way they cover these things. So, a little plug there. You can go check that out if you want to hear how. And they discuss several different things surrounding this issue. So, yeah, I'm with you. Lots of stuff to think and talk about. The last thing connected to this violent video game thing is Facebook removed a VR demo at CPAC. So CPAC is this big get-together of Republicans that happens every year.
It stands for conservative. It's loading up, and this is from Ethan Gach or Rick Taku.
Conservative Political Action Conference. So the game in question, or the VR experience in question, was Bullet Train, where a player rampages through a futuristic train station shooting armored guards and a giant automated drone boss. And they decided that in light of recent events that this probably wasn't a great VR demo to have at CPAC, and so they took it out. So that was interesting. What was most interesting to me is that Facebook is marketing VR games at CPAC. I just would have never guessed that was a good place to market.
What do you think about that move though? Like
taking that game out?
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly what you're asking me. I don't think it was a genuine Facebook me like, oh yeah, this is bad. I think it was more of a, oh, the Republicans are taking this stance, so we probably shouldn't have this at CPAC.
Okay, that's kind of how I was leaning on too. I mean, we've had stories like this happen before at other things. You know, there was the whole idea that was after the Miami shooting that it was rumored that like PlayStation was going to reveal Red Dead Redemption 2 at the end of their E3 conference. Do you remember this?
Vaguely.
So it was all a rumor, and I don't know if the rumor ever panned out, but basically what happened was the rumor says that Sony was planning to reveal Red Dead Redemption 2 with a cutscene at the end of their E3 presentation that year. But the Miami shooting had just happened, and the scene that they were going to show was one of the characters walking into a bar and shooting the place up. And that's why you got like that weird Days Gone demo at the end of that PlayStation conference, where it was like, we already showed you a big chunk of gameplay. We're going to show you an even bigger chunk of gameplay now. I don't know if that was true, but I do think that there is some legitimacy in recognizing the tone of society, like at the time. But I also think in some ways and again, you're right, with the audience making the argument, showing this to them probably only supports it. They were probably damned if they do, damned if they didn't. But removing it from the show also reinforces that idea. Like, oh, you guys are right. We don't need to show this. Like, and so it's a weird move to me. But if I'm just going to be honest with the discussion as a whole, I'm just exhausted. And I mean, because I listen to the political shows as well, and it leaks into almost every non-political show I listen to when something like this happens. And I agree that it's important to have the conversation, but so often in these arenas where the conversation is happening, I feel like it's just being blasted out to people who already agree with it, you know?
In a way that denigrates the other side, so we can all cheer together at how we've overcome our enemies on this issue.
Right, or just in a way that doesn't give a fair shake to the other side of it. And even if it's not if they're not trying to, denigrate the side, I do think there just is we're presenting this because it's right. And we're not going to talk about the other side of it because they're wrong, even if we're not saying outright that they're wrong. But what milk you have to say over here? What's up, Sap God? Welcome to the stream. Anyway, I just I'm exhausted by the entire conversation. And he says, to be honest, when I worked at GameStop, if I had $1 for every grandparent who bought one of those games for their way too young kid, I'd have enough to put a down payment on an E3 ticket this year. So, no, it's true. Like, people, just all around, people need to be way more willing to listen, whether it's the other side of the argument or whatever, or whether it's just to the GameStop associate who's trying to tell you, like, I know you think, okay, I'm going to give you an example here, and this is a real story. So, if this wasn't me, but another guy that I worked with named Mike, lady comes up, this kid had to have been 6 years old, has the latest Saints Row game in her hand, and he was like, now this is rated M for mature, and she was like, well, my son is mature. He plays these games all the time, blah, blah, blah. He's like, well, you don't understand. This is really mature. And she's like, my son is really mature. Like, don't judge my son's maturity. And he goes, okay, I was trying to avoid this, but there is a part of the game where you have a giant purple dildo and you're using it as a weapon. And at this point, the mother or grandma, whoever it was, shocked out of this world. Oh no, you're putting that game back. There's absolutely no way you're buying this, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, why do we have to get there?
Yeah.
Like, just take our word for it. There is a board of people who say, hey, if you're under the age of 17, probably not the best idea to play this game. Why do you think you're some special exception?
Yeah.
And that's the world we live in today, though, where little 8-year-old Johnny is special, and he's never going to search anything he shouldn't on the internet. He's never going to say a word he shouldn't to somebody else. He's never going to purchase something that he's not supposed to purchase. Like, stop thinking that you're special.
Yeah.
Because psychologically, there are things that you should wait to be. I mean, you're a parent. Like, what's going to be your stance? Because I saw this week you were showing Remy, your daughter, how to play Super Mario. Like, what's going to be your stance when she wants to start playing like a Halo and then like a Call of Duty or something like that?
To some degree, it'll depend on the game and the kid. But that rating system should play a factor in that. Mm-hmm. But I think it's also, Halo's rated M and Saints Row is rated M. But I think there's got to be some diligence on the part of the parent to go and figure out, okay, what's got this M rating? Because Halo's M rating is a lot different from Saints Row's M rating.
Exactly.
But a lot of parents don't put in the effort for that. So my job, I'm a student minister, and one of the things that I do is a couple times a year I do this thing where I bring parents in, and I call it Navigate, and we talk about how to stay up to date on the things kids are seeing in media and all this stuff, social media, apps, and everything. And there are parents that don't put the time into researching because they're just so overwhelmed with all the things their kids can get into. But then there are some parents where I'm like, it's almost like they just never thought to bother.
Right.
And so my stance as a parent, it's going to be case by case. She'll be, as long as she's living under my roof, she'll never be allowed to play a game like Saints Row.
Right.
But there will be a point where she's allowed to play Halo. But you also need to put some time in figuring out development. I was reading an article this past week about how for a young kid, seeing a violent act on TV, like Remy's age, she's a 3-year-old. She can't distinguish between this is really happening to somebody and this is not really happening to somebody. Yeah. And obviously she doesn't need to be seeing gratuitous violence until she can see that.
Exactly. Yeah. Real quick, what's up, Sap God? He says, love the show, boys. Never been able to catch it live before. Well, we are glad that you got to join in with us today. You can comment on things that we're talking about, and we'll try our best to get to that. Also, thanks for the follow, Verdiz. It pops up here, but for some reason our events aren't refreshing. So,
all right.
Anyway, no, I totally agree with you, and I think two things. Number one, I think as the gap of like the internet age and the non-internet age begins to like not exist, I think we're going to see less and less of that sort of stuff. Like parents who are able to go on YouTube and watch a Let's Play of a video, like who are aware of this content you can consume to preview what your kids are going to do. But I also think there just needs to be this idea of like the PlayStation is not a babysitter. The Xbox is not a babysitter. We're not just going to put our kids in front of it. Just like the iPad shouldn't be the babysitter. One of my favorite memories of you as a parent is when we went to B-Dubs that time, and the waitress just brought over the screen and handed it to Remy without asking you. And you took it away and you said, no, we try to teach our daughter she doesn't need to be entertained at every second. And I think that's such an important lesson because it's easy when your kid's screaming to just give them an iPad and be like, all right, well, they're not screaming anymore, not getting on my nerves. And it's just, that's not parenting, So... And I think that's the difficult thing with the whole, like, video games cause violent behavior. It's like, no, the unaware video game culture that leads to parents not caring about what their kids play or not caring about how much their kids play, which I think is an even bigger problem than necessarily what the kids are playing. But, little 8-year-old Johnny plays 4 hours of video games a night and has absolutely no other social interaction outside of that. Like, that's not going to lead to a well-rounded individual. And so it's like anything. The most difficult arguments to overcome are the ones that have a kernel of truth within them, but are blown out of proportion as to how true they actually are. I don't think because you play Call of Duty, you're going to be adept at shooting a gun and be able to go shoot up a bunch of people, or even that it's going to unlock something within you that does it. But I do think kids that are raised by media are going to have more things wrong with them socially than kids that are raised well-rounded.
Yeah, two things on that before we move on from it. Because I get the vibe we're about to move on. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. We can stay on this as long as you want.
Kids that are raised by screens. So one thing, just looking at research with kids, that as kids spend more time on social media and screen time, they actually are becoming less skilled in social skills. They're becoming less capable of empathy. Kids that have a lot of screen time can't read facial expressions and understand emotions as well as previous generations and kids that aren't. And that's crazy to me. But those are little things that matter.
Right.
Empathy is important.
I would argue empathy is not really a little thing. Empathy is very important.
not being able to tell what someone's feeling by looking at their
Yeah.
face, that is a huge deal.
Yeah. And it's such a huge deal that we have, like, there are disorders fully revolving around not being able to take social cues. Like, they're psychologically identified.
Yeah.
So
it is important to set the screens down, socialize. But even when you're consuming media, I would argue the best route for parents, and I don't do this perfectly yet. My daughter's 3. She's just now learning how to be conversational. So I'll cut myself some slack. But as they get older, when you are playing, like, play the game with them, watch the movie with them, and have the conversation. You know, why is this person doing this way? Was that the best way to do things? Blah, blah, blah. Like, engage it. Every piece of media has something to say. People don't write things just to write things. And engage with the message. Help your kid to see the message and grapple with it and really wrestle with what is good, what is right.
Mm-hmm. So, I think we can just sum this up real quick. I think we agree. Video games, in the grand scheme of this issue, bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
There are far greater things that need to be addressed. And what those are, I think you and I may not necessarily see eye to eye on, but we both agree video games aren't the starting point. And making it this political football to run with isn't the starting point.
And over the years, we've come to agree more than we initially did, because we do this thing where we discuss things in a friendly way. And even when we don't agree, we don't think the other person is literally Satan.
Exactly. Yes. A little thing called discussion. Feel free to have it, not on social media. I go on social media for cat pics.
Right.
That's it. I've gotten to the point, man, I really want to deactivate my Facebook, but it's against their terms to create like a dummy account to be able to run your business account, which sucks. So like if they find that, they'll shut your business account down. All right, let's move on to my topic, Larry. How deep into the show are we?
Yeah.
We're like 55 minutes or 50 minutes.
51 minutes.
All right, we're good. We got this. Well, just buckling, guys. It's going to be a longer episode. And you got to be out of here by 5:15.
Yeah.
But that's an hour and 15 minutes.
We're fine. We got time.
I want to talk about the Overwatch League, man.
Tell me about it.
You still haven't watched, correct?
I still haven't. I'm terrible about watching other people play games, but I need to watch this because I think I'd be really into it.
I do too, man. Like,
because Overwatch is one of those games where I got into the minutia of it.
Yeah. and so I'm still in like the deciding phase of who my favorite team is, and I want to do some more reading because apparently like there's some pretty toxic people who play in the Overwatch League, and I don't really want to support a team that has them.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of watching, getting a feel for who I want to start pulling for, but it is some of the most intense. I love sports, just in general, regular sports. Basketball is my favorite sport. I love football and baseball, golf, all that stuff. I love competition. Some of the most intense viewing were the last 2 days I've been watching the stage 2 of the Overwatch League. And I think it's partly because I understand the game, and while I'm not up to date on like I haven't played since, is it Moira since she's come out, so like I'm not really up to date on what the meta is, and I'm learning more as I go, and it's kind of making me want to play a little bit more, not necessarily jumping back in all the way, but understanding it makes a huge difference, and knowing the maps and knowing like, I mean, even the team that we played with when we were all online, we had strategies and we made our compositions in certain ways so that we could do things. Even though I joke about how much I play Pharah, there were other characters I could play with if needed.
Yeah.
And, but not only have I... Oh, go ahead.
And Pharah has almost always been a character where if you don't directly counter Pharah, she will roll your team.
On console.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. That makes
She doesn't get played a lot on PC because you can just click her and kill her.
Yeah.
It's a little easier to take her out. But... So, not only have I been watching that, I've been watching this guy named Jake who plays for the Houston Outlaws. I watched like 2 hours of a stream as I was laying in bed last night of him breaking down the strategies of them playing in the league. And it's just been really, really interesting to me. But I wanted to get to this article by Shabana Arif over on IGN about how Overwatch was designed to be an esport. And... kind of talk about what that means a little bit. So, it says Blizzard has said Overwatch was always designed with esports in mind, and certain features in the game were specifically designed to accommodate this. Quote, with all of our games now with with all of our games now, we think about viewability and we think about what is going to be necessary from a development perspective to make sure we're ready if a game does take off as an esport, end quote. This is according to Blizzard co-founder and president Mike Morhaime in a DICE panel discussion. Quote, if you described Overwatch as a sport, it's essentially 12 players on a field, all doing something important at the same time, end quote, added Overwatch League Commissioner Nate Nazer. So how do you show that to a viewer? They were missing some quotation marks in there, but you get the gist.
Yeah.
But basically, what this article goes on to describe, and if there's anything that you wanted to point out in it, you can, but that Blizzard approached Overwatch from the outset as an esport. Not necessarily because they were certain it would take off, but because they thought, if it does, we want this and this. From a production standpoint, man, and I think this is another reason I'm really into it, I've tried to watch some other esports. I watched a little bit of PUBG stuff. I've watched like Counter-Strike, and I've watched like Madden and FIFA, those sorts of things. Overwatch feels like a product when you're watching it. The Overwatch League does, and you know they have commercial breaks. They have the commentators. They have awesome graphic packages. You can see like in live gameplay, you can see all of the HP. You can see how close they are to their ultimates. There's all sorts of different like in-game established cameras that they'll switch to and from, so you can kind of see the fight. They have it to where you can see the outline of all the characters as they're playing, kind of like if Widowmaker had her visor on at all times. So if you understand the game, you really get like a deep dive look into how it's being played.
Yeah.
But I found it interesting when they talk about just the viewability of a game, because I think what we're seeing more and more from developers is not just an understanding of this could be an esport, but just we're going to get a lot of eyes on this simply through Twitch streamers.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool to think about like what makes a game watchable, I guess is my big question. Like to you as a guy who doesn't watch a lot of games, and I'm the same way, what is it that would get you into watching somebody play something?
Let me tell you one thing that really turns me off to watching the esports stuff. And I think Overwatch, unless I'm misunderstanding, Overwatch does not make this mistake. The only esport I ever tried to watch was like competitive Halo, because I was obsessed with Halo for much of my life.
Yeah.
And I hated it because the rule set for competitive Halo was so different from the rule set for regular Halo. Like, it's basically a different game. You have increased speed, decreased shields, and I don't know. It wasn't like watching the same game. But with Overwatch, like, they built it to be this thing. It's what everyone has been playing, and now you get to see them square off in the actual game. It's not a completely different rule set.
Right.
So, like, that's one component that's a big deal for me.
Yeah. Well, and I agree. Like, I remember growing up, and I was huge into college football back in the day, and I still watch a little bit, but I remember that feeling on Saturday. Like, the Seminoles played at noon. I'm a Florida State fan. They would play like at noon. Game would go off at 3, and I would just want to go out in the front yard with the football and like pretend like I played for the Seminoles, I got that same feeling watching Overwatch over the last couple days. Like I watched it and I was like, man, that kind of makes me want to fire up my Xbox and play Overwatch.
Yeah.
And so having that like similar experience like you're talking about, where and I don't know. So what was different about the way that Halo was played?
Faster speed, so everything moved faster. You ran faster, you reloaded and shot faster. And you had less shields, I believe.
Oh, okay.
And there may have been other things as well, but
yeah. So
and the point was to make the games go more quickly,
right? Which
I guess helps with watchability. But for me, it was just so different.
But with Overwatch, like they're playing on the same mode. The game they are playing is a game I can sit down in front of my Xbox and play, and that's a big deal. And you start to watch stuff, and it's like, oh man, like I understand what they're trying to do. Maybe if I get a semi-competent group of randoms, we can try to do something like that as well.
That's a beautiful dream.
Beautiful dream. But I don't know. I find it fascinating. It's really compelling to watch, and for me, that's the main thing about watching games is it makes me want to play. Like I've been really into Monster Hunter right now, and the reason I've been watching Monster Hunter streams is because I just want to be at home playing it, and I don't have that opportunity all the time. But I can pull up like Bag of Tricks or somebody like that I've been following that's been playing it, and like it just gets me in that spirit.
And kind of connected to your whole, I can get in and play the exact same game. You as a kid watched the Seminoles and went out and pretended to be on the Seminoles. You as a kid could watch Overwatch League, and it's not outside the realm of possibility that you could hop online with some friends and eventually get to the Overwatch League.
Yeah.
It's unlikely, but it's much more likely than you winding up on the Seminoles one day.
I would actually love to see the stats. Because, you think about it, like, it's a big stat in you do youth ministry that, like, 1% of a percent gets to play professional sports, yet all these people pour all this time. I imagine the number's probably similar, considering just the volume of people that play video games.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but it definitely is. Let's see. Counter-Strike gives people on Twitch random skin drops for watching the tournaments live. It's a cool idea for incentives to get people watching. Overwatch League actually does something similar where, like, I think if you cheer for your team, and so Twitch now has this, like, cheer thing where you pay money and it, like, pops up on the screen or whatever. You unlock skins that, like, are the same color pattern as the team you're cheering for. So, I really enjoy watching the Houston Outlaws, and it's the best, like... It's the dumbest reason for liking them, but their color scheme's awesome. It's the same exact color scheme as our podcast, so like that electric green and all that. So I love watching them play, and it's like, if I cheer for them, I could get... It's interactive in a way, you know?
Yeah.
One of the things I would like to kind of see Overwatch League take advantage of is... So Twitch now has a feature where you can break your chat up into chat rooms where it's like, hey, if you're pulling for this team... It would be cool to see that. Like, hey, you're pulling for Houston, you can jump in here and talk to other Houston fans. Or, hey, you main Farah or, whoever, you can hop in here and talk to other people who do that as well. I think that would be really cool. But figuring out those ways to make the platform more interactive, which is something traditional sports still can't figure out how to do.
Yeah.
ESPN has tried and failed different social platforms and getting people to be engaged in either the sports talk shows or the live broadcast of sports themselves. But gaming is built on interactivity, and figuring out a way to bring that into your streams as well, I think would go a long way for whatever league can figure out how to do it effectively.
Yeah.
So, any other thoughts on just watchability in games, or the idea that this game you love was designed with this in mind?
You can see that just looking at it and playing it. It makes sense. So, yeah, I don't really have anything else to say, I guess.
All right. Well, let's move on to the news.
With the podcast guy.
Right at the hour mark.
1 hour and 2 minutes into the show.
First item on the list, boys and girls. EA announces a release date for Burnout Paradise Remastered. This is going to be on PS4 and Xbox One. So there were some rumors floating around about this being announced, and EA kept denying that it was happening, but it was just... to the point where everybody knew it was a guarantee. But this is from... Who is this from? Oscar Deus over on GameSpot. It says, Burnout Paradise is getting a current-gen remaster. Publisher EA has confirmed the racing game has been given a PS4 and Xbox One release date of March 16th, while the PC version is coming later this year. Burnout Paradise Remastered will include the base game and 8 add-on packs, including the open world expansion Big Surf Island, as well as the Legendary Cars pack, which brought vehicles based on those from movies such as Back to the Future and Ghostbusters. Another terrible sentence. EA says this new edition includes technical enhancements that include, quote, high-resolution textures, end quote, and 4K 60 frame per second support for PS4 Pro and Xbox One X. It will cost $40 in the U.S., $35 fake dollars, and then 48 of those overinflated dollars in the Southern Hemisphere. So... I never played Burnout. I'm not a huge racing game fan. But I did want to bring up a couple things here. First of all, I don't know if you remember this, lady, but a couple years ago, back in the year of our Lord, 2016...
I do remember this. We covered this.
Yes, we did. Some EA executives said remasters are for noobs. In so many words. I'm pulling this up right now so I can get the actual quote. Milky says he's not able to get the stream on PS4 either. The 1080p is killing Twitch. He's watching on his iPad and laptop. I'm sorry. I'll look into that some more and figure out why it's like that. So Peter Moore and Patrick Soderlund gave quotes to this. This is Soderlund's quote, I believe. It says, quote, "We're a company that is focused on delivering..." Hold on. Let me make sure. I'm sorry. No, this is Peter Moore's quote. Quote, "We're a company that is focused on delivering for the future. I was asked a question once about remasters, and I said, it's just not what we do. We've got incredibly talented dev studios around the world who are focused on delivering new IP, new experiences, and more live services," end quote. He goes on to say, quote, "Can we make an easy buck on remastering Mass Effect? Yes. Have 1,000 people asked me that? Yes, they have. We just feel we want to go forward. There's a little thing called Mass Effect Andromeda that we're totally focused on at BioWare, and it's going to be magnificent." End quote.
That quote did not age well.
Look, companies are allowed to change.
Yeah.
And they're allowed to recognize when something is a little more business appropriate. And I think it's interesting that EA made this move when they did, because they kind of needed a mail-it-in win, right? EA had a really tough year last year with the magnificent Mass Effect Andromeda and with the Star Wars Battlefront 2 controversy, and just all the negative press that surrounded them. And so a remaster of this nature is kind of an easy way to say, like, hey, we're doing something like... And so that there was like a misprint that there were going to be in-game purchases, and like, you know, crap hit the fan after that. So they had to come out and say, like, that was a misprint. There's no microtransactions in this or whatever. But like, even that story just shows how on edge people are about EA. And so I do think it's a smart business move to just say, like, okay, we're going to do this. And Burnout's one of those franchises that's like not really sure how much of an interest is there anymore. So this may be gauging whether or not they can pour resources into a new one. But I can easily see him coming out and saying, all right, we are going to do the Mass Effect trilogy. We're going to remaster that and push it out. Just, they need some goodwill from fans, and those are easy ways to get that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So with that in mind, Larry and chat, what EA properties would you like to see remastered? If EA is going to open up the floodgates and remaster games, what do you think they should bring back?
The one that stood out to me, you sent me a list of EA games, was SSX, so Super Snowboarding Extreme. I have never enjoyed snowboarding games like that are serious and do the tricks and blah, 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 win the race, whatever. But I love the ridiculous, over-the-top SSX Tricky. That game was fantastic. I actually still fire up the GameCube from time to time and play SSX Tricky. It's a lot of fun. I love that game. So that one in particular, SSX Tricky, needs a remaster.
Write down the name of the game that I took from you, because I can't seem to remember what it was.
I don't think I wrote it down.
It's okay, but I do have one, and then you can continue with your list. Army of Two. Did you ever play Army of Two?
I didn't.
So, do you know the premise though? It was a co-op game, and you played as like a tactical force, and you had to work together. There were mechanics that only worked with two players, and you had to fight your way through different missions. Bought all of those games in college, rooming with Diz, and loved them. I love playing them. And so bringing those in with like online cooperative play and like the remastered graphics and all that, I don't know if I feel like that game was one of those like that came out and there were a lot of iterations and people weren't really in love with them, but I thoroughly enjoyed them. So I would definitely pick that. Also FIFA 95. I'm pulling that list up because I need to know but you go ahead with yours.
I'm trying to remember what it was. I read one. I was like, "Did you ever play this?" And we were both like, "Yeah."
Shaq Fu. That was another one.
Shaq Fu.
Bring that back. What's up?
So they did all the James Bond games back in the day, and of course GoldenEye is the one that everyone would want. But what I want is 007 Agent Under Fire. That game was a lot of fun. It had a fun campaign, but the multiplayer was really maybe ahead of its time. It was much faster than a lot of other games multiplayer, and it had this cue call. You could go flying through the air. It was a ridiculously fun multiplayer, and you could have 4 people playing and 4 AI opponents, and so the 4v4 is a possibility. Online play would be a blast. So that's on my list of things that they should remaster. And the other one that I have, We saw that they were working on a sequel to this game, and I haven't seen anything in a while, so I'm wondering if it's in development hell maybe, but Time Splitters. That game was a lot of fun, and I would love a remaster of it. And same thing. It had a really fun multiplayer where you could have all kinds of AI opponents. But these days, instead of AI opponents, you could have these big maps just full of human players, and it would be so much fun.
So SapGod says, I agree with Larry about SSX Tricky, for sure, and he would want Burnout too. So it was interesting when the news came out that this was going to be Burnout Paradise, because I think everybody that plays those games has a different idea of which one's the best. It's one of those, like, there's no universal pick for which is the best Burnout. But from what I understand, Burnout Paradise does remove one of the fan favorite features, which was the crash mode. And that was the big thing. Again, I didn't play it I never played a Burnout game, so I just have to take everybody else's word for it. And I'm really trying to find. Oh, so another game I would love to see.
Real quick, to your point that everyone picks a different Burnout, Milky says Burnout 3 would be a lot of fun.
Did you ever play the Bad Company games?
I didn't.
The Battlefield Bad Company games?
I remember I watched a friend play them, but I never played myself.
So you have the Battlefield, like, regular series that's like boots on the ground, realistic combat. Bad Company was this, like, not over the top in terms of gameplay, but just a lot more humor built into the dialogue and the story and the characters and stuff like that.
It was not a very professional army unit.
Exactly. And so for me, that was that's another game I would love to see. All right, here's all the FIFAs. FIFA 13, bring that back. Come on.
It's a long list when you go look at every game EA ever made.
Seriously. Oh gosh, Fight Night. The Fight Night games were so awesome. So UFC ripped off a lot of. Ripped off. It's the same people, but a lot of the mechanics, like the things that make UFC so fun, were built in Fight Night, and one of those was the different gestures you had to do with the analog sticks to like different punches. So like push down and then circle around. That's your uppercut. Jabs to the right and then like straight stuff like that. I really love the Fight Night games, and they tried. Fight Night Champion wasn't that great, but like Fight Night Round 3, those games were great. Still trying to figure out, because it's going to drive me nuts if I don't figure out what game it was. Medal of Honor would be great to bring back, says Milky513. Completely agree with that. The thing with Medal of Honor, I would love to see a new iteration of Medal of Honor. But there was a Medal of Honor game that came out for PS3 that it was like the reboot of the franchise, and I really thoroughly enjoyed that game. Has one of the best sniper missions of any game. I actually wrote an article about it on Twinfinite. I still can't find the name of this game, and I think it was near the bottom because it
would be in the R's probably, because I immediately made that joke about Shaq Fu after you.
Okay, all right, that's good to know, because I do feel like I've been scrolling through long enough. Would you play Did you ever play the Mass Effect games?
I didn't.
So would you play it if they came in a remastered package?
I probably would.
I do feel like it's something that could be up your alley. MVP Baseball was great, but you can't really remaster that.
See, Mass Effect came out when I was in college, which is Halo 3 came out shortly after I started college. And in the dorm setting, there was always some Halo to be played.
There are no less than 30,000 Need for Speed games.
I actually had a Need for Speed on a list, and I scratched it out for the sake of time. But since we're here...
Yeah, go ahead.
Need for Speed Carbon. That was the last great Need for Speed game, where you really had full customization of the cars and the whole open world, run all over the place, just mess stuff up and get chased by the cops if that's what you want to do kind of game. And I'd love to see that one remastered.
Road Rash.
That's it. Road Rash.
Road Rash was so good. Sapgod says he feels like the player 3 in the podcast. That's what we want the chat to be. We want the chat to be player 3, bringing in some more discussion. So if you're listening on a podcast service, bring your butt over here at 5 o'clock on twitch.tv/player3podcast on Mondays and chat with us, even though today we're doing it at 3. Road Rash was awesome. So it was a motorcycle racing game where you could get up next to people and kick the crap out of them. I played it I think there was some Sega Genesis version.
Yeah. That one's so old that you would need more than a remaster.
Yeah, you would need way more than a remaster.
Just remake this game.
But yeah, definitely would love to see that come. But I guess when you're talking remasters, you're talking like PS3 games or PS2 games.
But yeah, it was motorcycle racing, but you could pick up weapons and knock each other off your bikes. And wasn't there like a co-op option where one person rode on the back and did the hitting?
I only played on Sega, and I don't
Okay.
think there was an option like that. There was like versus racing, but I don't think there was like a co-op.
Either way, though, it was a fun game. Bring back Road Rash.
Hashtag bring back Road Rash. Hashtag just reboot
Rash. Hashtag just reboot.
All right, let's move on, Larry. EA has revealed plans for EA Play 2018. So, has it been a year or 2 years that EA has not been doing E3? They've been doing this event called EA Plays. I want to say it's been 2 years.
I do too.
But don't quote us on that. Kindoffunny.com/you're wrong if we're incorrect on that. Okay, it has been the last 2 years. It's in this article. Basically, they announced their plans for, and this is from Logan Moore over on Dual Shockers. I'm just going to quickly sum it up because we're running out of time. But, well, not running out of time, but we're getting long in the tooth. So, obviously, Madden and FIFA are going to be there. There is going to be the new Battlefield experience is going to be there as well. BioWare's game Anthem is going to have some new content that's coming there. And then a few surprises. And that's the thing I want to talk about here.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that one of these surprises is going to be the Road Rash reboot.
Hashtag reboot Road Rash. I would love to see that. No, I actually find that part interesting because for the last 2 years, you knew what was going to be at EA.
Yeah.
And so, what are they going to bring to us? Like, what studios haven't we heard from? I imagine we're probably going to have some EA originals, like Unravel and Fea or however you say it. But I want to see EA come out and maybe even like a AAA experience that we aren't expecting to show up. And, there's been all the stuff coming out about the new Dragon Age and all that sort of stuff. I don't know if maybe we'll see something about that. But, yeah, don't let me know your complete rundown before going into the show. Give me a reason to tune in.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're here at the end of our stream. We're going to close out with 45 minutes of multiplayer gameplay for Star Wars Battlefront 2. It's like, all right, I'm turning it off after 5 minutes of that. I'm not watching an entire match. So, all right, next item on the list, Larry. Unless you have more to say on that.
I do not.
PUBG. You ever heard of it?
I've played it once or twice.
All right. They're getting a new map on PC. This is over at GameSpot. From our boy Chris Pereira, it says although it isn't confirming specifics just yet, PlayerUnknown's Battleground developer PUBG Core has talked a little about what's to come in the months ahead for the popular Battle Royale game. Among other things, a new map is in the works that should be out before July. As part of its latest development update... Okay, another bad sentence. As part of its latest development update shared on Steam, PUBG Core explained that it had to delay, quote, development of some of the major features and systems, end quote, in order to deal with the game's serious cheating issue. PUBG Core also said that because of other reasons, it wasn't able to share PUBG's roadmap for 2018 as specific timing was changed. It now plans to share details on what's headed to the game on PC from now through June as part of an announcement in March, including specifics regarding the next map. Quote, we do have a lot of exciting things that we want to share with you, including new content to provide more extensive Battle Royale experiences as well as improvements and modifications to create a deeper and more realistic gameplay. In March, the team will reveal what you can expect from us in the first half of 2018, halfway through the first half of 2018, mind you, in terms of our development and new content plans, which, by the way, include a new map, end quote. Milky says, EA's conference is 30 minutes about Anthem and a 20-second apology about Star Wars Battlefront, followed by 20 minutes in to bring back loot boxes. Yeah! Here's how loot boxes work in Star Wars Battlefront 2. You want Darth Vader? We're taking him out of the game. You can get him back for $30. All right.
What if I already earned him? Same deal.
All right. Larry, new map coming in PUBG.
That's exciting, but here's the thing about the PUBG map. It's gigantic.
Yeah, it's huge.
I've been playing the crap out of this game since we got it, a month and a half ago? Like, I've been playing this game all the time. And 2 nights ago, my wife and I rolled into a town and I was like, I've never been here before. Like, it's that big, where there are little towns that it will take you forever to see everything on that map.
I was watching a tournament last night, and these guys rolled up on this, broken down airplane.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the heck? This is on this map? And we play on Xbox, so we only have the first map, which is Erangel I don't know how to say any of the location names. But then there's like a desert map on PC now that people hate because it's just a lot of open field.
Yeah, that's not a lot of fun.
So, all right, so we have like, a lush Russian island, and then we have the desert map. What do you think would be a cool location of a third one?
Let me say this, like, the location doesn't matter so much as making the location interesting.
Yes.
So the desert can be fine as long as you've got plenty of not just open field.
Right.
But that being said, so, I mean, obviously, if you have a desert map, you gotta have a snow map.
Oh, yeah. That
Snow
would be
map
awesome.
would be a blast.
That would be great.
Like, real mountainous. The whole thing is just mountains.
Yeah.
Because mountains suck when the storm starts closing in. Jess and I, we were playing the other night, and there's down near the military base, there's a mountain that you can go up on top of, and there's a building on top of it, and you can, like, see forever. You can see the bridge. And I was up there with an SKS with an 8x scope, just killing all kinds of people who weren't even near me. It was a lot of fun. But some people rolled up on us. We killed them, but we got too caught up in it and we weren't paying attention to the timer. And the blue closed in, and our only option was to try to go down the side of the mountain. And someone had managed to steal our bike. If we had our motorcycle, we could have probably rode down and been okay. But we wound up both dying by falling off the mountainside.
Yeah. I think I would like to see more of like a metropolitan area where it's... So, right now, like, you have some dense areas. You have, like, Pachinki and Yezvana, Polyana, or whatever it's called. Like, those are your two major, like, centers where there's a lot of buildings. But just, I would love to see, like, half the map are, like, city blocks or whatever. Yeah. It's just a huge urban environment. Like, I say this all the time, but when I play PUBG, it makes me really want to play The Division. And part of the thing that makes The Division more interesting to me than PUBG, as far as it is the setting. The Division's in New York City. You've got these skyscrapers and whatever, and so there's going to be a lot of verticality to the map and a lot more like sweeping buildings is really fun to me.
Yeah.
Once you're geared up. Yeah. I don't really particularly like dropping like hospital or whatever where there's a bunch of rooms and I don't have anything. But if I was rolling up in there with a full loadout and sweeping buildings, I think that would be a lot of fun. Now I understand trying to make a map like that in PUBG where you have to support 100 players. You have to, it's a giant map. The first circle I think is like 4 kilometers wide or something like that in game. But I would love to see that. I hear
Doug
I
Martin.
hear a voice. Doug! It's Douglas! Here he comes. Ladies and gentlemen, he can fix you a nice, delicious glass of Pepsi and steal your artist's heart. Doug Martin.
Where's your kitty sister?
Back in the back room. We haven't introduced him yet.
Pull up a chair, Doug.
Come on in. What is this gift that you brought?
Oh, it was your gift to me, actually.
Oh, okay.
For my
Well, what can I
This
say?
gift I've brought you.
So, thank you. I'll probably just chill back here in the window.
Yeah, that's fine. You may have to lean down so that you're not cut off by our logo here. We're talking about the map in PUBG. They're making a third map for PC right now.
Oh.
Do you know about the second map for PC?
The desert.
Yes. So you have the desert, and then you have like the island.
We're having some wild speculation.
Oh, go for it.
Wild speculation.
Noki513 says the audience is wild with applause.
Wild.
Would you like a chair? We have chairs.
There's one right there.
Well, how much
literally
longer
one
the show is left?
We have a few more news topics to get to. Here, you take this chair. It's all nice and warm from my butt.
Now, to catch you up on where we're at, I have wild speculated a mountainous snow map with lots of falling off of mountains
Well,
involved.
that's really the only way that they can go. I doubt that they'll have the falling off of mountains.
Luke has suggested a very urban area.
A metropolitan area.
That
like
would be
the
nice
Division.
too. That would be nice too.
And I like the verticality idea of it. I get that the scale would be a challenge, but having you've got, like you said, you've got populated areas, but still the tallest building is maybe 4 stories in the game.
Yeah.
But to have like actual skyscrapers and maybe some zip lines you could get down from the
Oh
roof real
gosh,
quick
yeah, that would be awesome.
and open up the sewers and the subway.
Oh man, yeah, you've got it. Hire us.
You got it figured
Hire
out.
us.
So.
Hire us. How about you? What would you like to see? Oh, Larry
I
got
have
really
one
excited.
more.
I just got it here, so I'll think.
Yeah.
You talk.
To solve the issue of scale, maybe the storm isn't just closing in, but maybe it cuts off some of the vertical as well.
Oh, I like that.
So you got to keep working your way up to the top of the skyscraper for the final showdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I'm going to take it in a different direction. I think rather than focus on a different map, I would like to see varied game modes. So instead of just Battle Royale, maybe 100 people drop in cars and they duke it out.
Demolition Derby.
Demolition Derby. That's the term I was looking for. Yes. So I would like that. I'm sure some people have modded it at some point. Can you mod this?
Yeah, there's custom games.
Yeah. So I'm sure someone's done that, but I'd like to see it on that scale.
When you say drop in cars, I'm assuming you mean you don't drop in and get cars. Your
you
car's
drop in. Car has a parachute.
And it's not that you're in a car; it's that you are a car.
Fast and Furious style, and you just go to town. You have guns attached to the car, maybe, so you still have that trigger function. Spike rams, all that good stuff. Or even like boats. You can do the same thing with boats. And
a water world map. It's just little islands and just vast seas.
A vast sea.
What if they did one that was on a totally other planet, and so the gravity's different, the bullet drop is like they create a whole, because PUBG
the
is all
bullet drop
about,
goes up.
Yeah, because PUBG is all about like realism as far as the physics of except for, it's funny, the bullet physics are realistic, but then you can launch your motorcycle 1,000 feet in the air and land unscathed. But yeah, the gravity is all different. The way guns fire, like they've thought it all through. They've created an entirely different atmosphere.
I dig.
But no other environments you'd like to see?
No, I really like the idea of the metropolitan environment. I wish that they would do something like that for Friday the 13th. Like, they have all these camp maps, and that's great. But they have that one movie where they went to Manhattan. Jason Takes Manhattan, or whatever it was called. Mm-hmm. And I think it would be cool to be just like to be trapped in like a large skyscraper or something like, or on a city block or something like that, and only have certain, like, maybe 1 or 2 floors of each of 6 or 7 buildings be accessible, and you're trying to escape Jason somewhere on that city block.
It's funny because mentioning those two games like separate from one another, you don't really think about the ways that they are very similar, but then when you start talking about them next to each other, like, there is a survival horror element to PUBG almost, and the tension that you feel. It scares
the crap out of me.
The first time I played it over here with you is it took me like a primal place. Like, I'm walking, nothing's happening yet. I'm trying to figure out the controls, but I hear gunfire in the distance, and I'm trying to already, like, my mind just goes to this place where I'm like, how close is this gunfire? Are there people close to me? I start looking around a lot more, listening a lot more. My senses heighten.
How many times have we actually blown each other's faces off because we round the corner on each other?
Right. It's terrifying, and again, that's like it kind of taps into this raw human state that I don't think many, if any, other game modes really access, other than survival horror. Maybe that would be my closest bet.
Playing solos, like, I almost don't enjoy the experience. It's so intense at times. I like rolling it up in a squad better. Probably like Friday the 13th. Like, it's more fun to play with people.
Definitely.
I absolutely hate in squad when your whole team gets eliminated but you, because it's like there's no way this ends well for me.
Or very few, at least. With Friday the 13th, it had, even when you were playing with groups, it had this fear factor, because especially when you're brand new to it, you don't really know all the sounds the sound cues to listen for. Like, there's music playing. Sometimes it seems like it's peaking, and that makes you think that Jason's on his way, but he actually has a specific sound that as he approaches. And there's also that that makes you think that he's near, but that's actually the sound of him powering up as time goes on. So you don't know all the sound cues, you don't know what to look for as you continue playing and get more used to it. Really, you're not as surprised or shocked when he shows up, because you're more familiar with the game. I play with the volume down sometimes when I still do play, because I have no idea when he's coming, and all of a sudden I turn around, or maybe I get ready to go out a different door, like as I finish looting a chest, and he's right there behind me, and he grabs me, and that makes me woo. And PP.
A few weeks ago, we talked about like different games implementing battle royale modes, and I kicked this idea around then. But this would be cool in PUBG.
I'll pick that up.
So not just modify the map, but also modify what the storm is. Like, don't just make it this blue wall. So like I talked about a horror game implementing a battle royale and having zombies instead. So maybe you can get out of the storm because it's just a big horde of zombies, but maybe you get torn apart. Or maybe a forest map where it's a forest fire closing in and burning everything down as it goes. That'd be fun.
And it would be cool. Like, so one of the other big things with PUBG is like, when you're dead and you're in a squad, you're sitting there, like, and you're trying to help with call-outs or whatever. But it would be cool if, like, let's say the zombie thing, you enter, like, a god mode where you have a horde that you get to control and it's within the confines of the circle. And so it's like, hey, we know people are going to be coming from the south or whatever to try to get into the circle. We're going to send all these hordes over here in order to block them from getting in.
There was a game that did something similar to that.
I'm trying.
I don't know. Disregard that. I could be wrong, but there was something where you at least participated after you died, or something like. I'm thinking about I don't know what it's called, but it was
Great. Good talk.
Good talk.
I'm glad the affirmative I remembered at Snap came in there. I don't know what it's called.
I remember, but I don't know what it's called. All right, let's move on. Next item on the list, because we are definitely an hour and a half into this show right now. The Metal Gear Survive. You watched anything on it? Played it at all?
I've read some reviews. Really, I'm not actively boycotting the game, but I just have no interest in playing in a post-Kojima world, especially a game that's not particularly canonical.
Right.
Where it deals with one of the snakes or something like that. So
Right.
I understand that this is surrounded by canon, and it is technically, I guess, canonical because it references and takes place partially
in the universe,
in the universe. And in fact, part of the story mode is on the original base, right, from Ground Zeroes.
Yeah,
So it is canonical, but Konami is mean. I don't really want to mess around with them until, if ever.
Would it sell you on it if I said Metal Gear Survive makes you pay $10 for a new save if you don't want to delete your existing character?
You might have hooked me right there.
This is from This is from Shabana Arif on IGN. It says each new character you create in Metal Gear Survive will cost you $10 if you don't want to delete your first one. Keeping your existing character essentially means creating another save file for your new one, and IGN has confirmed that a new save slot costs 1,000 survival coins. You can buy 1,150 coins for $9.99. Metal Gear Survive microtransactions were confirmed last month, but not all the details of what you could purchase with them. Save files, for example, were explained. Oh, man. Let's see.
In an era where we are grappling with the best way to implement microtransactions, I'm not sure this was the best idea.
So, Milky previously said EA and Konami Games joined together in the last 5 minutes of conference to tell audience how brave they are to innovate $10 save features for more than one save slot on all upcoming games. We were doing some speculation about EA Play. This is just ridiculous to me.
Did we expect anything less from the Pachinko masters?
I did. I expected at least a little bit of awareness over two things. Number one, that literally nobody wants to like this game. There is not a single person on the face of this planet who bought this game or has played this game thinking, I really want to like this. Everyone's going into it looking for any kind of thing you can nitpick, but this isn't even nitpicking. This is just completely and totally anti-consumer, and Konami deserves to have their throats jumped down because of this decision. But secondly, it's totally unaware of the conversation that's been going on about microtransactions, and to put something so basic and fundamental as an extra save slot behind a paywall just goes to show you that Konami is living in some sort of bunker. All of the windowless office they make their employees work in, that is also where the executives live.
The modern day sweatshop.
Yeah, essentially.
SapGod points out that you can't earn coins in the game, so technically you don't have to pay for it, but I am willing to bet that it takes a while to earn enough coins for this.
Yeah.
That's typically how these things go. But maybe it won't be.
I've been torn about all of this to an extent because the people that make these games are not the same people that made the decision to screw over Kojima. You know, and they aren't the same people that all the controversy about Konami. But then you see stuff like this and it's like, it just reminds you that even if you're just buying the game to support the developers who make it, you're lining the pockets of the people who did make those decisions. And they needed to. They didn't necessarily need to deliver a perfect game in order for this to be somewhat successful. They needed to deliver something fun that was free of controversy. Because this game, before we knew anything about it outside of the little reveal that it had, was surrounded by it.
It was born in controversy.
Exactly. So,
EA merely adopted the controversy. But this Metal Gear Solid game was born in it, molded by it.
Sapgod says, I've been playing Metal Gear Survive and have been surprised that the story is actually decent. There's much more single-player story than I expected for the $40 price. And, again, the $40 price tag, great decision. Putting time and effort behind the story, great. Bringing back a lot of those mechanics that people loved in Metal Gear Solid 5, it's essentially the same
using
game.
the Fox engine in general.
Yeah.
Good.
Great idea. Don't do stupid crap like this. Even if you can earn the stuff in game, nobody cares. If they see that you're taking any sum of money for something so basic, you're gonna catch crap about it. So, I don't know.
Nothing's fine. I'm torn. I'm all out of faith. This is how I feel.
Did your wife get that haircut?
No.
No.
All right. Last item on the list, we're going to quickly mention this. We've talked about this multiple times, but net neutrality is officially ending in April. So the internet.
So as my son is born, the internet will die.
And that's how the world has to work. In order for something to live, something else must die. And unfortunately, it's something very, very major that dies as a result of your son being born. Was it worth it?
Probably.
You can't know beforehand. You gotta get the sun first.
Maybe your son will grow up to save the internet.
He looks like he's gonna be a big old boy. Look at them cheeks. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a monster picture, but
No, those 3D ultrasounds always like look a little.
yeah. But he's got some big old cheeks.
I imagine his skin is going to be less melted when you see him in real life.
I certainly hope so.
Let's see.
So connect. Oh,
S&P 4000 is not the world, just certain parts of it. I don't know what he's talking about. But anyway, welcome to the stream.
Batman reference. I didn't make. When did I make a Batman reference?
Bane.
Yeah, but it's born in it.
Sorry, I was just caught up on the torn by Natalie and Bruce.
Which is an Usher reference.
Ursher. Connected to this net neutrality discussion, I have suspicions that they're already tampering with things. Because once that passed, you guys have noticed I've had some big issues with my connectivity lately when gaming, but not when doing anything else. So I have suspicions there. But there was an app. This made the news a while ago because initially Apple blocked this from the App Store, but now you can get it on Apple or Android. It's called Weehe, W-E-H-E. And basically you fire the app up and it will tell you whether your ISP is, whether they're violating net neutrality or not.
Interesting. Well, now they won't be.
Because it will not be here.
Well, no, violating the principle of net neutrality.
The principle. Okay. So
it's the principle of the thing.
This is kind of an aside, but I want to have this discussion really quickly. Larry,
this has been the whole show.
Larry, you're a youth minister. You work with children. How many of your kids say? Well, you also live in the backwoods, so you may not have what I'm about to bring up. Wi-Fi. Do your kids say Wi-Fi, or do you have some kids that say Wi-Fi?
I've never had a kid say Wi-Fi.
Are you kidding? Okay, so I noticed this as a trend among teenagers when I was working at Rich Acres, that some kids say Wi-Fi. Well, I started talking about this at work. One of my employees says Wi-Fi. One of my former employees says Wi-Fi. I joked about firing her because of it. And she was like, well, my mom says Wi-Fi. And I was like, Mom was wrong again. Okay, so you've never heard that? Have you heard people say Wi-Fi?
I've heard you use it. I think you're the only person.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't use it legitimately, but I know real-life people that say Wi-Fi. Anyway, let's move on to everybody's favorite segment. The random question of the week, for the month, for this week.
Oh, yeah, now there are two of you again.
All right. I'm very excited you're here, Seth, for this question.
I'm glad.
Walk me through
Give me a walk.
your username history.
I hate this question.
So think back to middle school, high school, your emails. your AIM logins.
That's where it's going to begin for me.
Your Reddit, your original Twitter handles, your original gamer tags.
I will not be revealing my Reddit name. Nice try.
I'll take charge here. And my first AIM screen name was EmoSeth5. I was in the 7th grade.
EmoSeth5.
I didn't particularly know what it meant to be emo, but it was before emo became cliche. It was when it was actually cool. Well,
emo was cool for a while.
It was cool for a while, but it was always cliche.
Before people in our county knew what it meant to be emo, before everybody was saying, "Oh, that's so emo," kids still say that to this day. I found out, like they know what it means. But at this time, very few people did. But it really offended these guys in a local high school band. I was friends with some guys that were like 4 years older than me. So when I'm in 7th grade, they're in 10th.
A quick question.
Yeah.
How old are you?
27.
Okay, not much difference.
Right. So
at what age did you get this screen name?
7th grade would be what, like 12, 13?
All right. I didn't even know what emo was yet.
Yeah, well, you were in West Virginia. Like
that's true.
That's a whole different game.
It makes a difference.
But so yeah, it offended these guys. The guys from Cluttered.
Yeah,
or whatever they ended up being called. They were in like a screamo, well, kind of somewhere
they were
between
like a post-core.
Yeah. Before anyone was using the term post-core.
Yeah.
So they were really offended that this kid who knew one of their friends had the screen name EmoSeth5, and they ostracized my friend who had turned me on to emo, screamo music, and he was, as a result, very upset with me because I got him in trouble with his friends for being a dork and claiming this thing that was only cool to this select people. So that was my gestation in screen namedom.
Now, when you got 5, was it because you tried the 4 before?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I tried to be I was not the emo Seth.
Right.
Nor was I ever. But that's not the point. Really, I think that was I might have had some other AIM names as I got older. I don't remember what they were. I think one was Seth the Rain Cloud. Rain Cloud.
Hello, Snap Out. Welcome to the show. This is the end where we have a random question that has nothing to do with gaming.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about our screen name history throughout the years, and it's going to be super embarrassing.
Yes.
But really, I guess the main screen name for me would be when I bought my first 360.
Okay.
And Buttzors was born.
It was born, and it continues to this day.
I didn't realize it was that old.
It was. I bought it in 10th grade, and when I was in the 10th grade, and it was the first thing that came to my mind. I don't know why or how.
I feel like you and I were together when this happened.
We might have been. I don't know.
Because you used to come on.
Do you mean like friends or like we were together when I actually did it?
For some reason, I remember us either having a conversation about this or that I was present for the inception.
You weren't. You might have been. I'm not sure. It very well could have been.
Did you do this on your own personal Xbox?
Yeah.
Okay, then I wasn't, because you used to come over and play Halo on my Xbox all the time.
Right. We may have discussed it before I did it, but I don't know. Either way, that Buttzors was born. Eventually, I dropped I didn't have an Xbox for a couple of years. When I got one again, I was in college.
Couldn't remember your password.
Oh no, I could remember my password, but they offered me a free extra month of Xbox Live if I started a new screen name. So that's what I did. I regret it, because that would have been like 3,000 extra gamer score points for me, and I could have just had Buttzors on
both consoles.
But now there's the butts, there's the dongs, there's Sweet Baby.
Yeah. But it was actually a giant friend code I never memorized.
Right.
So, What was your first email address? Did you have a Hotmail account?
I did. I can't remember.
Okay.
It's been so long, and really, I mean, there were the times like where you're on your parents' computer in middle school and you have your Hotmail, your Yahoo chat, and your AIM all up at the same time, just hoping, trying to talk to as many people as you can to escape the fact that you have no freedom as a child. And instead of it beat at the time, it beat just getting on the landline phone and talking to your friends while your parents picked up and listened to make sure that you're not talking about doing drugs in middle school and making babies whilst being
on
baby.
drugs in middle school.
Yeah.
All right, Larry.
Oh man! So we're gonna run the gamut of we're gonna go anime nerd through religious fundamentalist, and then maybe balance out.
Are you acknowledging that you were a fundamentalist at some point?
I am.
Okay.
So,
Milky says his first email address was milkycereal@hotmail.com because Milky and Milky216 were taken. How were those taken? Well, how was Milky216 taken, but Milky Cereal wasn't? I want to know. All right, Larry, go for it.
So my first email address was troa112@hotmail.com.
Troa?
Troa. He was one of the characters from Gundam Wing. He was my favorite. Yeah. His Gundam had the big Gatling guns.
Yeah.
His job was roll in and just like blow everything up, and then all he had was like little wrist blades. It was dumb. Very poor design, but I loved it. And so that was my Hotmail. And that's all I used for a while. On AIM, I was Larry AH, Larry Allen Hunt. And then some numbers. I don't know what numbers.
Social Security number 286.
Then along comes MySpace.
Oh, yes.
And so, as we establish on this show quite regularly, I hate the current climate of everyone just trying to make everyone think that the opposing worldview is stupid and we just talk down to everybody. And one of the reasons I hate that is because I was that person. I love arguing with people, and I'm pretty good at it. And I'm pretty good at making people just look dumb and twisting whatever they say. And that's what a lot of people like these days. But
That's what attracted you to ministry. Yes.
So that's where I was as a freshman in high school, and I guess I'm just super disappointed that's where people still are as like 40-year-olds.
Yeah.
But I say all that to say,
if you think about it, they didn't. Now they are in their freshman year phase of the internet.
That's true.
Because like my dad, 68 years old, got his first Facebook in 2012 or 2014, something like that. Mm-hmm. That's where he is.
And
so
Seth
he went
no
through
less than 4 or 5 posts a day.
Between him, my mother. Yeah, it could be a full-time job just checking Susie Orman memes and Donald Trump posts and things like that. Continue.
Can I ask you a question real quick? Did your mom mean to put her name backwards on Facebook, or was that an accident?
I think she says that she did mean to do it for some reason.
But you're pretty certain she didn't?
I'm pretty certain.
Okay, so because her last name is before her first name.
Yeah, Martin Bonney, like she.
like it's a roll
like
call.
When you're in school. Yeah, exactly.
So I liked to argue, and what I liked to argue most about was religion, and so my MySpace name was God's Gunslinger. I hate this question. It's a great shame of mine.
Larry rolling up into town with his 2 Bibles in his holster. Right. It's like, I got the NIV and the KJV. I'm ready for anything.
They have a 6-shooter with tiny scrolls in there.
It was a reference to a movie, but I can't remember the movie reference.
It probably doesn't make it better.
No, it doesn't. I'm sure it doesn't. I wish viewers, if you know what this movie was the reference.
Some kind of Christian Western.
That'd be great.
Was it Veggie
Probably. That's really what was most formative in my religious knowledge. So then from MySpace, I guess we move on to Facebook eventually, but that's just my name. Mm-hmm. In high school also I got Xbox Live. I actually had the original, my Xbox Live gamer tag was Backstabber. No letters, just Backstabber. And
did you say no letters?
Sorry, no numbers.
No letters.
No letters.
Just
There's just a blank.
It was just a picture.
And you had to imagine what it was. So it's only gamer I enjoyed having such a simple gamer tag with no numbers, but we didn't have internet for a while, and then when we got it again, I couldn't remember the credit card that we had purchased that Xbox Live with, so I could never get it back. Mm. And then Twitter comes along. I really had a struggle naming my Twitter handle. So at first I was Straylight Hunt. I was very into Straylight Run at the time, and then from there I went to Lair Hunts Zombies, and now my gamer tag is the Ninja Squirrel. I think that's pretty much all of it.
And you did the zombie thing before zombies were just oversaturated.
Yeah, my stepmom was a huge George Romero fan, so I grew up watching zombie movies.
So I'm with Milky here that God's gunslinger beats anything I got. I'm just going to steal that quote and apply it to myself. We should have saved you for last. My very first email was Seminole0885 at hotmail.com. And that was Seminole, as we established earlier in this episode. I'm a Florida State fan. 08 was my baseball number, and 85 was my football number, so 0885. Then I went to Just Lukewarm 2008, my graduation year, which you defaulted to one of 2 years when you did when you had to make a username. It was either the year you were born or the year you graduated. So I went with Just Lukewarm 2008.
I think it still is.
On what?
In many ways. When you make any kind of account name.
Oh, yeah. And then, so those are, and my AIM name was, I think my AIM name was Seminole0885, or Seminole08. If I remember right, your AIM name was only allowed to be like 10 characters or something like that. But, so nothing super embarrassing. And then I had Just Lukewarm 2008 as my PSN name, and then I don't remember why I switched. I think it was another like free trial thing, and I was like, no, I just didn't want numbers in my name. Was what it was. So I went with Lodger Blackman on PSN because it's a reference to Psych. It's one of the nicknames that Sean gives Gus. On Xbox, I used to be Download a Hoagie. Yeah. And then I just wanted to mix it up with another It's Always Sunny reference, and went with You Should Vote Me from the iconic political speech that Charlie Day gives about how you should vote me, Philadelphia. Yes, good.
And this is totally off topic, but those early episodes are so ludicrously absurd.
Yes.
That it baffles me to think that people could, and I know that's the point, but there was never anything else like that on TV.
Yeah.
Like where you could take the plot even remotely seriously. But they take it so seriously.
Yes.
And they're like, you have a man with like garbage bags over the windows, and they're recording with a huge VHS recorder.
And he's illiterate.
This illiterate guy with like puffy red eyes, like, you should vote me good. Yes.
It's such a good show.
So good.
I had an Xbox Live friend, I didn't know him in real life, just on Xbox Live, but his gamer tag was Fix the Fernback. Nice.
And then my Twitter handle is TK from Antioch, which is from a sketch of an MC Chris album. I can't remember which album it's off of, but he's talking to this agent, and he's like, you remember, it's me, it's Tony Kopak, TK from Antioch. And for some reason, me and Diz at the time when I created my Twitter account were like just really into MC Chris. So I took the TK from Antioch because I wanted Chikizi from the other MC Chris sketch where he's like, MC Chris and Chikizi touring this summer, but then I realized Chikizi was an actual American Idol contestant, and that was based off of a real person, so it was already taken. But so I don't have anything as embarrassing as God's Gunslinger. We should bring it back, man. It's what, $20 to change your name on Xbox Live?
It's yours.
God's Gunslinger. I bet it's taken on Xbox Live. Go ahead, God's Gunslinger as a friend. Let's see. Sap God says, I always thought you were a team killer. I've been known to do that, but that's not what TK stands for. I do have kind of an embarrassing story that I wanted to share. This isn't about any kind of username or anything, but
Earlier he crapped his pants.
I like to write music, and I've loved to write music since the time I was like a kid. And when I was in elementary school, I was into boy bands. I'll be honest.
I still am. The old ones.
Try to tell me we can't play a Backstreet Boys song. Doesn't matter which one. Right now, and we won't all know at least 80% of the words to that song.
Some of them.
I still like when I tell Alexa to play some music. My first instinct is like, Alexa, play 90s pop, and she plays it. Almost 9 out of 10 times there is a Backstreet Boys song playing right off the bat?
So I started a boy band when I was in elementary school that I was the only member of because that's how popular a guy who wants to be in a boy band at 8 years old is. Mm-hmm. And I named the band the Cirrus Clouds because we were learning about clouds, and the cirrus clouds are the highest clouds. And I was like, and I didn't know drugs or anything, so I wasn't thinking about being high like that. Unlike today's 8-year-old kids who they're doing the drugs, they're selling the drugs. We know where to find them. We're going to hire a dog. I was like, this band is going to be the highest band ever. We're gonna get way up there. And it was like, you can't really have a boy band with just one boy, because then you're just Justin Bieber, who didn't exist at that point. I think probably, how old is Justin Bieber? Okay, Google, how old is Justin Bieber?
Didn't recognize your voice.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, Google, how old is Justin Bieber?
We're finding out.
How old is Justin Bieber? Listen to me.
Okay, let's see if I can Google this faster.
How old is Justin Bieber?
Fast.
23.
Oh, he's 23, so he almost didn't exist. That's 5 years younger than me. He was only 3 years old when I started out. I was the original Justin Bieber, that's what I'm getting at. That's basically what I'm saying. Let's get out of here, guys. This show's been an hour, almost 2 hours long.
Let's just enjoy the last 5 minutes.
See how long
it out to a nice 2 hour show.
It can go.
So Milky says that his Google speaker and cell phone just answered your question. Did it get it right?
Okay, Google. John Stamos shirtless. Oh, oops, that's on my phone too now.
Oh no, I didn't mean to. All right, let's go around the circle. Larry, who are you?
I'm Larry. You can find me on Twitter at LarHuntsZombies. LarHunts Zombies. Oh, it's down here now.
Oh yeah.
In what universe is this a circle?
Shut up and tell us who you are, Seth.
I thought you were just going to say, shh. My name's Seth. I like stuff. And
thanks.
Find me on the PSN, Buttzors. That's Buttzorz. Buttzors.
An antique gamer tag.
Antique and precious to me. It was reborn from the Xbox 360 onto the PlayStation Network. You can find me on Xbox Live at Dongzors. That's Dongzorz. Dongzors. And I have no idea how you can find me on the Nintendo Switch.
All right, and my name is Luke Croft. You can find me on Twitter at TK from Antioch, on PSN at Lodger Blackman, and on Xbox Live at You Should Vote Me. Also, okay, Google, Venmo Luke $100. Did yours get it to you? You gonna Venmo me $100?
Mine is only keyed into my voice.
Oh, dang it.
We don't sound similar enough.
You did get Milky's phone to show him shirtless pictures.
He's acting like he's angry. Why would you be angry about shirtless pictures of John Stamos?
But we are the Player 3 Podcast. We get together over here every Monday on twitch.tv/Player3 Podcast. Normally at 5, even though we were a couple hours early this week. And then we push it out to you on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, all that over on youtube.com/Player3 Podcast. Check out our brand new stream schedule. We'll be live tonight at 9 o'clock streaming some PUBG. Hopefully you boys will be able to join me, Larry, and be able to just rain your wisdom about where to find drugs over me.
Okay, Google, text mom shirtless pictures of John Stamos.
All right, guys, we're going to get out of here. We are the Player 3 Podcast.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Player 3 Podcast. P3P.